Welcome back to Write Out Loud, the podcast where nothing's going right now, and everything is just a bit of a slapstick comedy. I'm Matt, and of course, I am joined by the wonderful, mystical, legendary, and luscious Christina.
Okay, luscious is a new one. But mystical, I think we need to start checking the box how many times you call me mystical. And I don't even know what that means. Like, magical, mystical Dorothy.
What is happening? See, this is what I'm talking about. We are having a struggle bus of an evening.
Yes.
But we were talking about a topic that we thought we wanted to discuss, and that is, as writers, we are often sometimes a little worried to venture into topics that might be a little bit charged emotionally, that might be seen as objectionable or
it's the idea.
Controversial.
Again, I think I would have had to look up specifically who it was, but I am sure it was from the basketball world because the phrase was shut up and dribble.
Mm-hmm.
And so if anyone knows what I'm talking about with that, singers hear it a lot, just shut up and sing. We don't want to hear anything about you, because I think in some ways the audience feels like the art is tainted now. I have always been of the mind that the artist does what they feel like they need to do. Most of the time, I think art is controversial.
Mm-hmm.
I think art has to be a little bit controversial in the sense that we don't know necessarily what the artist intended, and we are interpreting it through our own eyes.
Sure.
So, for example, the biggest one on the stage right now is JK Rowling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is what she is saying on the world stage versus what she said with Harry Potter. Like, to me, it doesn't compute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can that be the same person? And I think that's what audiences are saying about the shut up and dribble and shut up and sing, and just right now in the publishing world, the writing world, it's shut up and write.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that books specifically are up to the interpretation of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes think that once a writer writes the story that they're going to tell, it now belongs to the audience. It no longer belongs to the writer anymore.
Sure. It's taken on such a life of its own.
Right.
And it's become such a thing bigger than the person who created it, because
Yes.
I mean, you think about the impact that it's had in so many different areas. Like, there was just this subset of people that really, really aligned with that story and with that universe.
Yes.
And wanting to fit in and wanting to, even though they were different in some way, but finding their own power, finding their own personal power.
Yep.
To help them emerge. It's hard to reconcile that there was such an empowering message, and such a message of, like, good will prevail and love conquers all.
Yep.
And then you counter that with the author's, that's all I'm going to say, is the author's personal views, which are
and
horrific.
I don't think it's a stretch to even call it hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
because it's now, you know, gone to other groups of people, including the actors who portrayed the main characters. She's now basically going after them because they dared to defend the people that JK Rowling was targeting, I guess.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can actually see multi points of view here because I don't feel that writers should be silent. You know, they are people behind the books. But I'm also in the camp of, like, specifically with JK Rowling, I don't know how I feel about Harry Potter anymore. I don't mean, and I'm, you know, take me back to, I remember shelving the first Harry Potter book and seeing the cute little, oh, what a cute. And at that time, it was in the children's reading section. So it wasn't like, I was like, oh, I want to read this.
Right.
But I remember when it came in, I remember shelving it because it was a cute little guy with these broken glasses.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to the second one was out, and we were starting to get memos from the home office saying, okay, these books are really starting to move. And so, you know, hey, be on the lookout. And so I was actually flying to Alaska, and it was a 6-hour flight. And I thought to myself, oh, you know what? I will get that first book and I will read it. I'm on a plane. I don't need to pay attention to a children's book. I think I had read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And by the time we stepped off the plane, I said, get me to the nearest Waltham Books. I have to get book 2.
Yeah. Nice.
So, and then in fact, a friend that was with us on the trip, she did a scrapbook afterwards, and like at the end was, and the number of Harry Potter books read. Anyway, I also clearly know a before and after. Before Harry Potter books, after Harry Potter books.
Okay.
Because bookstore business, readers changed. There were little kids coming in going, I've read all the Harry Potter books, what's next? And that had never happened before. And it just changed the dynamic of reading. And so I can quantify that, and I can quantify what the Harry Potter books, how I interpret them.
Right.
But then it also, like, that's not the person spewing hate that wrote these books. Like, I can't reconcile.
I think that's the question is, can we separate the art from the artist?
Yeah.
Should we? I don't know. We just got done with a whole episode about writing complex villains and antagonists, right? And learning how to make complex characters that will do things that you don't like, but then there's other parts of them that you're like, okay, that's me, or I would do that, or you identify with them in some way.
Yep.
And I think in some ways, JK Rowling has embodied that, for better or worse.
And the thing is, I can have empathy for her. I can have understanding if something happened. You know, I don't recall her being hateful.
No.
In the beginning. So
she used to be so good at taking down trolls on social media.
Yes. And
then
now she's become one.
She's become one, yeah.
Yeah. Now, can I separate the art from the artist? Absolutely. Because I really do feel that something that's extremely important art surpasses whoever created it. Like, it has become its own thing, its own entity. And I think I can get there with the Harry Potter stuff. I think just right now, she's just given the climate that we're living in right now, the sheer amount of money she has to use for those nefarious purposes. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break. And that's not to say that I believe that artists should shut up, because I think invariably they write stories from that same place. So it's almost impossible to not realize that the artist might be trying to change someone's mind about something, or try to show you a different way of thinking. So, no spoilers, but The Last of Us season 2 has started. And this group of fans from the TV series and the game, I did not play the game, so I am just a TV series watcher. But there are so many fascinating questions that have no answers. That there is no right and wrong answer. Like, would you do this or would you do that? Which to me creates such depth. Again, when you are storytellers and creators, you can see the complexity
Right.
of characters, of story. And most of the time, the reader can understand what someone's values. Again, because of where we're living right now, the political climate, you can tell their politics.
Right.
And I think because of who I am, if you're spouting hate, I'm not interested in what you're writing right now. Like if
Right.
JK Rowling wrote something right now, I would not pick it up. Because
Yeah.
I that's not
Yeah.
anything I'm going to be interested in reading. Again,
Well-
you kind of come to this juxtaposition of what happened from when she finished writing the Harry Potter stuff to
To what's going on
today.
now, yeah. Well, but I think too, if it's interesting for me because I think I separate Harry Potter from her current state of whatever that is, horridness. Because I think there, like we said, there's been such an impact. I think there's been so many people inspired by that story and that
Yes.
world, and that I really enjoy it. I still like it. I would play the video games. I would read the books, whatever. But to your point, if J.K. Rowling came out with another addition to the Harry Potter story, I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I think
Because
it's just interesting.
yeah, because the thing is that every single artist, whether intentionally or not, does infuse themselves into their art.
Sure.
So I think it is problematic to think to yourself that, oh, I loved the Harry Potter stuff, I would love what she does right now. No.
Well, and there was controversy even before all of this really blew up, because there were conversations being had around the way that she named her characters, Cho Chang, and
Oh, yeah.
some of the names that she would use, that were they maybe too stereotypical or what have you. And I think what's
So-
interesting about it, though, is you think about if her intention. So let's just play, right, psychologist, that if her intention was to promote diversity, that she actually wanted to show, like, I have all of these different characters from all these different backgrounds, and I don't care because everybody's equal and able to be in this world, and yet just maybe stepped in it a little with the naming,
Okay.
right? Maybe it was perceived as being too, right? Does that sort of overtake what she was trying to do?
Right. So, again, this is a
If she was
very
trying to do that.
Yeah, if this is a very interesting question, because did that talk start because people started wondering after she started spewing some hate that this was maybe problematic and racist to name the characters in those ethnic ways? Or if it was before, were people... It's one thing to... See, I'm having trouble with this one too, because you can't remove knowing how hateful she is now to reflecting upon the Harry Potter. So I actually think that if I read Harry Potter now, I'd have much more problems with it. Because the thing is, like you said, on one hand, you can look at it and she's trying to be diverse. Or now I look at it and I go, but was she doing it for the right reasons.
Or was it a parody? This is an
Well,
Asian
maybe,
character.
yeah,
That's a parody of an Asian
yeah,
character, right? Like,
yeah,
was that the
maybe,
actual piece, right? So it's hard.
yeah.
Yeah, I hear what
See,
you're
this
saying
is what
because
I mean.
you're.
This is why. So the thing is, I have absolutely no issue with an author coming out with their political views.
Mhm.
Okay, but spewing hate, I think, is different altogether. Or if their political views are hateful,
Yeah,
you know,
but I think you as a writer also have to weigh the fact that, especially if you know, and please don't be like this, but if you know that your reviews are
problematic.
problematic and you're just putting them out there to stir the pot or whatever, or to find support from somewhere, you have to understand that there will be consequences,
Yes.
right? And you have to be willing to deal with the consequences. That might be things people say to you that hurt your feelings right back. That might be people don't buy your books. People don't like, you have to take
Yeah.
that into consideration. But the same really goes to the other side of that coin. Even if your views are all about openness and diversity and everything else, you still will get some level of
Yeah.
pushback.
Well, I think that's the point entirely for everyone except for JK Rowling or anyone else that's going to be hateful like that. But I think if you have views and they come out in your work, we're going to be able to read that and go, okay, this person aligns with me and this person does not.
Yep.
But I also think taking To Kill a Mockingbird, for example, she had a story that she wanted to tell that was timely and showed. I think that at the end of the day, you have to take those chances because you're moving society forward. This is the thing. When authoritarians, when dictators, when, we'll use the big bad Hitler as an example, burned books, it is because they don't want you learning. They don't want you to empathize with fictional characters, and then you might end up empathizing with real life people. So I think the idea that we're talking about written word and storytelling, everything is inherently going to be controversial to somebody. And that's why
Sure.
they want to ban. That's why there's a list of banned books.
Yep.
They're always going to be something because writers, that's what they do. They push the envelope a little bit farther. This is how I want my society to look. This is what I want my society to understand. I think that's why I'm so interested in this idea of resistance fiction.
I was just going to say.
Same
Yes.
wavelength. Yes.
Yep.
And I think that the definition of resistance, either it is going against the status quo or it is not. And I think most books, storytelling, to a degree, movies and TV, maybe not as much as books, but movie and TV, I think they are against the status quo. I think they have to be.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, fiction is about hope. What we hope will happen in life.
Yep.
What happens in life and what we hope happens after life
Whether
happens.
it's your hope or someone else's version of hope,
Yes.
it is all about hope.
Yeah.
And there are different versions of that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think the thing I would put in here is, especially when we talk about the conversation around JK Rowling and the Harry Potter universe, we're not telling you which way you should come down on that. You have to decide that for your own. You have to decide if you can separate the artist from the art, but you also have to be okay with other people deciding
yeah.
that they can or can't separate the two,
And going
because
on
everybody's
this-
going to have their own experience around it.
Yeah. And going on this theme of hope, I really do hope that someday I can separate it because there is such magic in what happened to the industry after Harry Potter. Like I said, for me, there is a before and an after
Right.
with Harry Potter.
Yep.
And that's how impactful those books were.
But I just think for me, it's not because I don't have that experience that you did,
Yeah.
right? For me, it's there was a sense of wonder that opened up along that. And a lot of people that really started to focus on things that were more whimsical, more fun, more magical.
Mystical.
Yeah.
Maybe
And it
that's why
was
you told me
just
that.
like everybody was in on it.
Yeah.
There wasn't really anybody of any age group that was left out, right?
Yeah. But
And
so
I think that, especially with the themes of the overall, which is love conquers all, still,
yeah.
I think it's something that people rallied around. And I don't want to lose that because I think that has become its own thing. But that, again, that's me, right?
Yeah.
So
I actually think it's interesting because as you were talking about that and saying, you know, she brought all of that. Well, guess what? We're taking the wand back. We now have the power.
That's right. So sound off, drop us a note, leave us a voicemail, send us a text message, whatever you've got to do. But understand that whatever you have to say around the topic is valid. Whatever your thoughts are around it, however you feel about it, that's for you to decide, as we've said. But also think about it as a writer yourself. How do you want your art to be perceived? What do you want to come from your art? And just get it out there. Get your voice. Keep creating. Keep on building. But most of all, write out loud.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. We really hope that you're enjoying every bit of it, but we would love to hear your feedback. Drop us an email either to matt@writeoutloudpod.com or christina@bookmatchmaker.com. We would love to hear your thoughts. What's working, what's not working, and what do you want to hear more of? Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.